Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are listening to the postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure to check out the GCP where the vibes are free at 779 Bank Street. Let them know that Locked On Senators sent you and get on the Send Shuttle. All October games are available at Glebe Central Pub's website. Just click the Sends bus. I'm Ross Levitan, and the boys are all on the GCP bus, so they'll join me when they get to 779 Bank Street. But I feel like this is kind of some sick joke. Sens lose 4-1 at home to the Nashville Predators. The 5-game home opener win streak is snapped. And for the first time since COVID, so the 5th time, I'm not boots on the ground. And I had some family things come up. Obviously, I had to take care of those. Couldn't make it. But the fact that the streak ends, and I almost feel a bit responsible. And then I'm put here just, hey, get on stage, kid. Go and talk everyone off the ledge. Because that was a pretty brutal performance. All the problems that we thought the Senators had, well, most of them showed their ugly head in terms of 5-on-5 scoring, finishing ability. The one positive, and it's almost backhanded negative because the discipline was still an issue, but the PK went a perfect 6 for 6, and Nashville's power play brutal. I was thinking after the first or second period, like what would the score be right now if you'd given up that many power plays to Tampa or Florida? Could have been ugly a lot earlier. And the 4-1 score, not super indicative of how this game played out. Ottawa carried it mostly, but 2 empty net goals certainly makes it feel more lopsided. And the fact that Ottawa didn't get on the board until 2 minutes and 3 seconds left in this game after it had already been made 2-0 took a little bit of momentum away from the home opener. Let's see some comments in the chat. How are we feeling about the game? You can find us on YouTube after every Ottawa Senators game, and hopefully the next one's a bit better. It'll be on the road Wednesday against Buffalo, starting a back-to-back before coming home. They'll finish that on Thursday against the Seattle Kraken. Good news in this game. I'm building off of today's show, which we recorded yesterday, because we said you got to be disciplined to win hockey games, and the Senators weren't that. There were some early penalties in this game that really just felt like self-inflicted. You look at a too many men on the ice penalty. How about Nick Jensen flipping the puck over the glass? You're going to get calls throughout a game, but when you're doing it to yourself like that, it's tough to bounce back from. Although I felt like Ottawa did at times really carry the pace of play. We do have to give some love to UC Saros' first star in this game. He made 31 saves on the afternoon, but Linus Ullmark felt like he was going save for save for him. We also said to know that Linus Ullmark's in the zone, we're going to have to see him out challenging the shooter, and on multiple occasions tonight, he did. What comes to mind, that Stamkos one-timer in the third period, way outside the blue paint. So I thought he was really taking a step in the right direction. Penalties, though. It comes down to lack of finishing and penalties tonight that killed the Ottawa Senators. And you can say, yeah, the PK went a perfect 6 for 6. I would say they almost went chance for chance. Pinto almost had a breakaway. It took a great defensive stick from Jonathan Marchessault to break that play up. Ridley Gregg had another good look, shorthand. I thought he was great on the PK overall. But the fact that they're killing penalties for 12 minutes in this game, not great at all for a team that needed to get out to a better start at home. Now 1-2 on the season. They've been down 2-0 and 3-1 in all 3 games so far this season. The other problem in this game, nobody knows what goalie interference is, and it strikes its ugly head again. Finally, there was a goal, and it would have given Ottawa a 1-0 lead at this point in the game. Jake Sanderson makes an incredible shot from a tough angle, short side, upstairs, thing of beauty. And then the review happens. And then it continues. Almost feel like I should take a sip of coffee here because it continued even more. 5 minutes it took the NHL to reverse the call. And if you're sitting at home as a hockey fan, unbiased to watching a game, do you really want to sit and wait that long? I know that it's not a uncommon take, and you've probably heard too much already. It's scroll Twitter, everyone's saying, where's the time limit on reviews? But it's such a joke. And if it goes longer than a minute and they haven't found an increasingly impossible amount of evidence that it has to be overturned, just keep the call on the ice. It's that simple. And when you're trying to be in a league where goal scoring is what brings fans in, people are just checking their fantasy stats. Goal scoring is good for hockey. And as a goalie-friendly show, sure, that pains me a little bit to say, but it's exciting. It's what people want to see. Should have to be impossible for the goaltender to make a save if the interference happens. So on this particular play, Tim Stützle is just driving the net. He kind of loses possession of the puck, ends up squirting to Jake Sanderson, but in the momentum that's carrying Timmy into the net, he just ever so slightly bumped Saros's pad, and then 3 seconds later, it felt like the puck was in the back of the net. So if Saros, one of the most athletic goalies in the league, can't get set in that amount of time, I think we got bigger problems on our hand. But I think Saros was what made it kind of, I guess, easier for the refs to overturn it, is Saros knew that he had given up the short side, so he was diving across to make the save. So as Timmy had hit his left foot, it would be as though he was just scrambling. But I think that was a controlled play for him just to try to get something in front of that shot, which wasn't the case. That was sick from Jake Sanderson. But unfortunately, it doesn't count. And then Jonathan Marchessault opens the scoring for the Nashville Predators. And to look back on that goal, it's tough. Clevin and Spence playing each their first game of the season. They got hemmed for that whole shift. And finally, it felt like they were going to break out. Spence gets it up the wall to Dylan Cousins. Yeah. And Cousins tries to make a little nifty move inside his blue line. It gets turned over and it's in the back of the net before you can blink. So yeah, you want Spence to get that out, but you really want Dylan Cousins, after he receives the pass, to just get it up and out of the zone as fast as he can. Wasn't the case. And it cost the Ottawa Senators, because that held up for the rest of the second period and then into the third, where in my notes, it's literally just Saros good save on Zetterlund. Then it was the too many men penalty that was not a penalty. It gets blown down. Nashville had like 7 or 8 guys on the ice, and not sure how they can not make a call there after Ottawa had already gotten too many men penalty when the Sens didn't even touch the puck on that play. I get it. Spence came on in a way where he directly impacted the play without touching the puck, kind of negating clear odd man opportunity. We'll get to the odd man opportunities because it was way too loose in the first period, and we're seeing some of that in the chat as well. But I didn't agree with that. And at that point, both coaches were pissed tonight, or this afternoon. Both coaches didn't think the refs did a good job. And even early, the linesman dropped the puck, dude. I saw both guys get tossed at the same time. This probably means it's your fault if they're both jumping. Anyways, that's not why the Sens lost this game. The PK went 6 for 6, as I mentioned. But would you have liked a power play there? Of course, because then they get a power play after Timmy was taken down with 2.5 minutes left. And then they score at that point to make it 2-1 and feel, just for a moment, a glimmer of hope. UC Saros, though, awesome in this game. Third period, Cousins was stopped on the doorstep, and then Greg turned away from the slot. Tim Stützle in particular, he had his chances in this game. He finishes the night with 6 shots on goal and 5 that were blocked. So 11 shot attempts for Tim Stützle in this game. So we wanted him to have a shooter's mentality. He did. But then the next step of that is let's make sure that those things get through sticks, through bodies, and get pucks on net. The other problem in this game is that Brady Tkachuk left it. Didn't play in the last 10 minutes. I shouldn't say left the game, just the teammate, the leader he is, much like Matthew Tkachuk did at the Four Nations when he didn't play much, if more than 2 shifts in the gold medal game. Just sat on the bench for the last 10 minutes. You knew it was a problem when Ottawa had the power play late in the game and Brady was sitting on the bench. So we'll wait for an update on that. It was a tough collision in the first period where Roman Josi, from a really dangerous distance away, shoved Brady Tkachuk into the boards from behind and was assessed a 2-minute penalty for that. But it must have lingered because Brady went to the room for a few minutes, came back, battled through, and then did not finish this game. So we'll await an update on Brady Tkachuk following this game. We're waiting an update on the boys who are on the GCP shuttle. We'll get to them a little later on in the show. We'll also get to some Sen Central standouts after the Ottawa Senators fall 4-1 in their home opener to the Nashville Predators. Ridley Gregg, the goal scorer for Ottawa, was a power play goal. Assists go to Dylan Cousins and Jake Sanderson. It was a Cousins shot that deflected off of Gregg's skate. No kicking motion, no challenge, but that is all the offense Ottawa was able to muster. So we don't like that. And how can it change? That's next. You're listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial institutions or even what they're worth, whether it's their 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, go get Monarch. I did. It's actually fantastic. Monarch will do the heavy lifting for you. Link all your accounts in minutes so you can see clear data visuals and get smart categorization of your spending. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. with code LOCKEDONNHL. And if you're looking for a spot that lives and breathes hockey, it's the Glebe Central Pub. The Postcast is always brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. You can head there at 779 Bank Street. Make sure you let them know that Locked On Senator sent you, and you'll never know who you see at the GCP. Today, Pilsy, Jack, Martian, we're all shooting the breeze over at the pub before the game, and we are going, for the first time ever, live to the GCP shuttle, catching up with Pilsy and Marsh. And boys, tough afternoon.
Yeah, that was a flat start to the game. That overturned goal really killed all the momentum. I mean, I can't even believe they decided to challenge that. And Marsh and I were laughing at each other, being like, thanks to the power play. Like, there's no way this goal is getting overturned. And they took half an hour to look at it. I don't know if the internet went down, Gary Bettman was busy, or what happened there, but they just killed all the momentum of the game. That goal should have counted. It was a beautiful Jake Sanderson top shelf, even strength goal. Rip. And it is what it is.
It is what it is. And we'll get more from the boys there as they get to the GCP. And in the meantime, I'll continue telling you that, wow, here we go. The Glebe Central Pub has something going on every night of the week, from live music every Saturday and tacos on Thursday for nice and cheap. Wing night happens every Monday. So head to the place where the vibes are free. It's 779 Bank Street. Let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. Welcome back to the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan, and the irony that Pilsy's going on about the poor internet connection between NHL control room and the CTC while he's struggling to get through a sentence on the GCP bus. I can't wait for the downtown arena. That is just one of the reasons with the drive out there. But if you're going to have to make the drive, you better have a good time doing it. It sounds like the boys have been having some fun. I noticed that we got a pair of the new alternate jerseys. So once they get off the bus, we'll go back to them, have a bit better of a connection, and get the boys show off those beautiful third jerseys, which have grown on me substantially, by the way, since the decision to release them just a little bit at a time has been made. Brady Tkachuk injury was not precautionary. He was kept out because he wasn't able to play. Thanks, Bruce. Being evaluated now. There's the update on Brady Tkachuk. We'll continue that throughout the show. You can also find us wherever you get podcasts. In the rare occasion like today, where it's a Monday or weekday afternoon game, we'll try to get those episodes out the night before so that you can wake up and have LOSP in your podcast feed well before the game. We've got a great show for you tomorrow as well. I'll save that for a little bit later, but I want to hear the big takeaways from tonight's game. So hit us up in the chat and let us know what the biggest reason why the Ottawa Senators were not able to win their home opener were. I don't want this to sound like I'm backdooring it, but just watching the Nashville Predators, their sticks were in lanes defensively. There's a reason why they were able to redirect as many shots as they were. I think like not even all of them counted as block shots per se, but they just made it difficult for Ottawa to get any grade A release points, it felt like, or I should say cut them down, because Ottawa did get their fair share of chances, but of the 14 blocks for Nashville, it felt like a lot of them kind of hindered Ottawa's offensive opportunities. And then the other side of this too, this is the thing that frustrates you as a fan, is when the calls don't go your way, it can affect the players just as much. And of course it does. But when that happens, you got to be able to control your emotions. And Ottawa's done a better job of that, I think, through the first two games in certain areas. Probably the first game a little bit better, but they just came unraveled. They were chirping the officials, and it starts with the head coach. The coach was very animated. How about, and I'm not blaming Travis Green for this, talking to the refs is more important during a TV timeout, but Claire Hanna, friend of the show, that's an awkward wait on the bench, and ultimately did not get the interview green light because Travis Green spent the whole time talking to their officials. But it felt like the refs got in the Sens' heads in this one, whether it was the disallowed goal penalties that were called that maybe were a bit cheeky, like the Shane Pinto hooking penalty in the first period, or maybe it was penalties that weren't called, like there was a couple on Thomas Chabot in particular. He got hauled down in the slot. The ref saying that the player got puck before skates, not a penalty. But it felt like one in my little world, as tiny of a percent that matters in the grand scheme of things. But if you look under the hood at this one, high danger shot attempts favored Ottawa 6-5 in this one. Ottawa with 54.7% of the expected goals in this game. They carried the play, specifically in the third period where they really turned on. First period was not Ottawa's friend. And this is something that really needs to be ironed out. And I saw there were some whispers about maybe the way that training camp went didn't really prepare them for the season because they never played their full team together. And now that's 3 bad starts over and over and over again to start the game. If it wasn't for Linus Ullmark, this could have been 2-0 in the first 10 minutes of the game. But Ullmark stood tall, and Saros, ironically, is one of the smallest goalies in the league, stood taller in this game. He really was good, and you have to tip your cap. He's off to an exceptional start to his season now. He stole a win for them already the other night in Columbus, where he was excellent. And then today, again, just an incredible performance from him. So you're not going to get that all the time, but we can't have excuses all the time either. Like we mentioned how hard the road trip was, and it was, right? Tampa and Florida for the last 6 cup champs, but to come home, you can't say, oh, we got goalied, we'll get them next time. It has to be something you look in the mirror and say, what do we need to do differently to be able to get more offense created? And the fact that this was a problem last year just makes you even more concerned that this could be a lingering issue for the Ottawa Senators. You thought that going out and getting Fabian Zetterlund and Dylan Cousins would help out, but we are at the point now, and Mike points it out, like Drake Batherson, he really shows how valuable he is when he's out of the lineup. And that's not to say that Michael Amadio's in over his head right now. I thought that line with Perron and Dylan Cousins had some great moments in this game, keeping offensive possession and getting the few chances of their own, although Amadio missed the net on a bunch of his chances, it felt like tonight. But getting Drake Batherson back, I think, is going to be really, really important for the Senators. And it sounds like he wants and expects to make his season debut on Wednesday in Buffalo that's a team where, I mean, if you lose the Buffalo Sabres after getting swept by them in the season series last year and with all the injuries they have right now, I think that there's going to be a lot of strong reactions, but we're not there yet. Sens are 1-2 on the season. They probably win a game they shouldn't have won, the way they did against Tampa, coming back from down 3-1 in the second period and getting a Shane Pinto late goal that put them ahead to really propel them to victory. But something needs to click because the 5-on-5 offense is dry, and the power play even went 1 for 5. And I know there are a few shortened ones where it's 4-on-4 for a bit, but the power play has got to get better. The PK did get better, so at least they check on the PK, check on the goaltending. Ullmark was fantastic. This game is not even close to even looking at Linus Ullmark. I thought he was exceptional in goal. This one's on the offense, and they've got to figure it out. On the other side, there were some Send Central standouts. The boys should be getting to the GCP shortly, so we'll hear from them. This is the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NHL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure that you're ready for the can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I will go out and say, I've been riding Pilsey's Zetterlund shots over. I'm officially out on the Zetterlund over shots. But if you had Tim Stützle over shots on goal tonight, it was a good day. Timmy smashing the over on his shots on goal as he finished with 6 that hit the target in this game. Brady just under, he had 2. And not enough finishing, just the one Ridley Gregg goal. But whenever you have an itch, go head over to FanDuel. It's a great time to join. New customers right now getting $300 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back to the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan, awaiting the boys who are feeling, I would say, better than you and I, sitting at home after being boots on the ground for the home opener. We'll take you into the sights and sounds, everything from the pregame to the postgame that the boys got to see when they get to the pub and have better internet. They better. It better be better. The Sens have to be better on Wednesday because despite, I would say, outplaying the Nashville Predators today, wasn't good enough to get the victory. And let's head over to the chat now where we hear from Sens fans in Van. Great couple that loves supporting the pod. We appreciate that. Gonna sub in for positive Pilsy. Ullmark was good. Timmy's shooting. And Brady's wrist isn't broken, at least we assume. A doctor looked at it before returning. Yeah, that's not a doctor here either. And I love that you got that in there as you're playing Pilsy's narrative. But Brady's got to be healthy for this team to be good. I think it really comes down to that. Adam writes in saying that Wednesday is a must-win game. Gonna have to ask Pilsy if he's gonna put the must-win stamp on this game. It's early in the season, but you can't let this start stumble further. 1-2. Look, you're a game away from 500. It's early in the season. 3 of the 4 games will have been on the road, but still, you need to find a way to win on Wednesday. So, Adam, I don't know if I'll go so far as to say it's a must-win game. I don't want to burn through those too early. And good thing I didn't think about it because I've been known to call home openers must-wins in the past. They do work out, though. I didn't call it a must-win today. They didn't win. I'm just looking to blame myself. However I get there, it's really tough. Should have been there. Should have been there for the boys. I tried. I had my guy at home. I was dialed in from the moment I got up this morning, and just didn't happen. There were a standout performance or two tonight. I'll go with Linus Ullmark as the easy first star if you're an Ottawa Senators fan in tonight's game. Makes 22 saves on 24 shots. Only allowed the 2 goals, right? The other 2 came with the empty net. So a .917 save percentage, much more Ullmark-esque than we had seen in the past. And to quickly break down the 2 goals he let in, not much you can do on either of them. It's tough to get that off of the failed exit. He'd already bailed out the team a couple of times where there was a scramble, and I mentioned they got hemmed in, right? Like he was already active and making saves, just couldn't get that last one from Marchessault. And then if you're looking at the second goal, that one, I'm looking at the counterattack, and I'm looking at just they are giving it to O'Reilly. I was curious whether it went off Dylan Cousins' skate or if O'Reilly got it, but that's not on the goalie either, right? It's a clear-cut breakaway from in tight from Stamkos. He couldn't get a lot on it. Had to kind of grab it on his backhand, and he just put a little no. He didn't really, I don't think he knew where it was going. He's like, let me put it into traffic, and we'll see if my guy can get a stick on it. And O'Reilly did, and that made it 2-0 with under 5 minutes left. At that point, you're grasping at just anything. And they got something there. I mentioned the power play goal, right? Ridley Gregg. So nice to see him get on the score sheet because he thought he was fantastic, especially shorthanded. And yes, Dylan, I was talking about Marcia. So getting a lot of goals against the Ottawa Senators. Let me pull back up. What was that? The exact stat, but I want to say he's got the second or third most goals against any team comes against the Senators. He's just a killer for them. That was his 13th goal in 21 career games against Ottawa. His 22nd point. Not sure if he added. Oh, he had a second goal, right? The first empty netter was him too. So make it 14 goals. And I actually think I said, don't rewind the tape, but I think I said, hopefully he's not tied for the most goals against any opponent after the game. He needed 2. So he's now tied. He's got 14 goals against St. Louis, San Jose, and the Ottawa Senators. So good thing Ottawa only sees Marchessault one more time this season, barring a trade. Yeah, Ullmark's numbers, everything looked good for Linus Ullmark tonight, and that's one of the things you can take away positively from this game. Another thing I'm curious about that I wanted to get to was the ice time distribution based on lines at 5-on-5. You can't read everything into this, especially in a game that had as much special teams as this one. Guys were kind of moving in and out. You add on Brady Tkachuk's injury, didn't play in the second half of the third period, and you're finding yourselves with a bit of a hodgepodge. But before Brady went out for the rest of the game, they did move back to the Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, and Claude Giroux line. Curious what people think about that maneuver. That ultimately ended up putting Zetterlund on a line with Shane Pinto and Ridley Gregg. I thought it was okay. They were just trying something. And by something, I mean what they know they like in that circumstance. But I don't know if it was the right play necessarily. Checking out moneypuck.com, which we like to do after games as well, just to see kind of how the lineup was distributed, if I could speak, in this one. The line that had the most 5-on-5 ice time together was Lars Eller, Nick Cousins, and Ole Lycksell with 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So that also speaks to how broken up this game was. Just ugly. Just an overall ugly game. Just pissed me off. The Dylan Cousins, David Perron, Michael Amadio line, sorry, just kind of looking over here. They were unreal when they were out there on the ice. In 4 minutes and 18 seconds, shot attempts were 7-0 when that trio was out there. So does that change how you would re-slot Drake Batherson in? I guess it depends too on Brady Tkachuk's health, but I wouldn't mind seeing Stützle, Tkachuk, and Batherson. You're trying to get a winger for that top line. And if the Amadio trio is working with Perron, you leave Zetterlund down there. I know at this point, you're probably like, wait, you're not taking Zetterlund down to the fourth line already, are you? Well, he can play on the third, I guess. But then Giroux would then have to go to the fourth, which I don't like. And I did like Giroux on that line with Pinto and Gregg throughout the start of the season too. So is that something that Travis Green looks at? We will see sooner than later. The update actually is no update on Brady Tkachuk. So I don't like that a whole lot. Not that the Sens really give out a whole lot of information, especially that close after a game. We'll probably have to wait until tomorrow, although that might be a day off if they're having a back-to-back coming up in the next 2 days. But Sens fans are going to be on pins and needles awaiting an update for the situation coming from Brady Tkachuk. Let's take a look at Pilsy sent in a short to finish the game just while we wait for the boys. Oh, that's doing him so dirty if I started it there. No, we're not going to do that to him. Good guy, that Brandon Piller. Sens fans in Van want to know if McDermott goes back in. Yeah, there was a couple cheap plays But I can't skate. He actually can't skate. I don't think it's worth the roster, especially if Drake Batherson comes back in. Like you can't find 2 roster spots right now. On the back end, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I want to give a bit of a pass to Clevin and Spence. Neither were excellent. Spence did have a couple good looks offensively, hit the post in the second period. That could have changed drastically the outcome in the game if Ottawa was able to get a strike there. But I'm curious to see if Travis Green goes back to old reliable there. Here's Pillsy after the game.
Still daylight.
That's a tough home opener loss in 5 years. The Ottawa Senators lose 4-1 to the Nashville Predators. I'm with Martian here. He's upset. It's okay. We tried switching jerseys. Didn't work. At least the Sens got 1 goal. Refs were terrible. Vibes were high. It's a beautiful day. We'll get him next time. Martian?
I mean, we had our guy out there tonight as the 13th man out there. You know, the boys out in the stands. I mean, what can you do, guys? You know, we just didn't have it tonight. We just didn't have it.
Didn't have it today. 1 o'clock start. Should be illegal.
It's still daylight.
Unbelievable, but we'll bounce back. Go Sens, go.
All right, there goes Brandon Piller after a tough loss. And look, I didn't want to be the guy to say this, so I'm glad they did because, again, I feel bad that I wasn't able to be there for the guys today. But 1 o'clock start is so bad on a Monday afternoon for your home opener against a Western Conference team. Are you kidding me? Yeah, sure, start them on the road. I know Ottawa's not going to get the priority schedule, but come on. Thanksgiving Monday at 1 o'clock. And I know they played last Thanksgiving. It was 3rd game of the season. Wild one. 8-7 was the final score against LA there, but I think that is such a disservice. And then it's like, oh, great, they play at 1 o'clock. I couldn't make that. And when's the next game? Oh, they're actually going to play a road game next. They just get to come home for 1 Monday afternoon game, and then they head right back on the road. When will we see them again? I'm sure it'll be a good matchup. Second half of a back-to-back, you get another Western Conference team, Seattle Kraken, coming to town. Sick. Thanks, schedule makers. Brutal. Sens lose this one 4-1 to the Nashville Predators. Just brutal. I feel like I'm not overreacting, though. I want to. I was frustrated seeing that 3rd goal go in. Yeah, young Zach pointing out it's a revenge game, too, for Joey Decord. Ottawa did well against Seattle, though, last year. They got both wins against Seattle, right? Didn't they shut them out both times last year? What was the record against them? Yeah, they did. Good memory. 3-0 in both games last year. But you got to get through Buffalo. Like, we can't look ahead of Buffalo right now. And I think that's kind of sad, but got to bounce back. The good news is they did figure out the penalty kill. That's the one thing that I'm looking at saying, all right, we can build on this. Now, should we be taking 6 penalties in a game? No, I'd really rather we cut that down to 2 or 3. How many was it in Florida? They went 3 for 5, right? So 5 penalties against Florida that resulted in kills. And then you're looking at 6 more tonight. That's so tough. Got to clean that up. Got to clean that up. The boys got to clean it up. What are they doing? Having a couple already? That would be so unlike them. Let me know in the comments what the biggest need is going into Wednesday's game, and be more specific than score more goals. Yeah, it'd be nice to have an average of 3, 4, 5 goals a game. How many goals for Ottawa this season have come at 5-on-5? None today. Power play goal. The Pinto goal late, garbage time. Did they have the net empty for that? I don't think they did. It was so out of reach. So you could say, yeah, the Pinto goal late in in the game against Florida was one. Both of Ottawa's goals came 5-on-5 in that game. But they're ugly goals. Like, Ottawa hasn't scored a nice, even strength 5-on-5 goal. Like, I guess Pinto, the game winner was. Yeah, the game winner. Oh, game winner. That Sanderson burst into the front. That was awesome. But Zub's little floater from the point, not the prettiest. And then you also are in a situation where could you at least get the ones that go in the net to count? The flip side of that is Ottawa's delay of game penalty. Nashville scored literally 2 seconds after on a rush chance. And you could say the whistle went, nobody was trying, but I'm going to say that Ullmark was trying to stop that puck and it went in. So tough home opener, definitely the toughest home opener of the post-COVID era. And we're getting, I was going to play some of the post game, and looks like we will get Linus Ullmark here shortly, but there was some technical difficulty from the post game press conferences on the Senators website, so we didn't get to hear from Jake Sanderson in his entirety, nor do we get to hear from Travis Green, which is typically something we like to do because I find the coaches give you a lot more than the players after the game. But one guy who's always extremely honest in his assessment of the Ottawa Senators performance is Linus Ullmark. So let's go to the Senators dressing room and hear from Linus Ullmark following a 4-1 loss against the Nashville Predators.
Hard to say. From my point of view, it felt like we were a little bit more sure about what we're doing going. It was less hesitation from everybody. Everybody went when we were supposed to go, putting pressure, having a little bit more swagger to it, not enabling them or allow them to make crisscross passes or setting up plays. So like we were forcing them a lot. And so when you do that, the opponents have to make more great passes than just making, one or two. Now they have to make 3, 4, 5, and then sometimes they might be a shit bounce or something like that, and then we're going after them. And and from my view as well, whenever there was a breakdown or so, knew where the options were, and that's something one of the things when we're talking about the process that was really good today.
What did you think of the disallowed goal on Jake Sanderson, the long review after?
So here's the thing, I don't watch the replays. From my point of view, from when I'm staying all the way down there, when you have a guy as talented as ours on his legs and feet, and you see him being, out of position or so on a, I wouldn't say simple play, but a simpler play, something must have happened. And I can't give you my 2 cents if it was a good call or not. It's hard to see, and I don't have a replay button in my brain.
Level of disappointment just losing a home opener after a long off season where fans were so excited about how the season ended last year?
It doesn't matter if it's a home opener or game 40 or game 82. You're always not devastated, but you're pissed off that you can bring it home, and we want to be a team that are very, very good at home. We're going to make this our fortress, and we're going to make it really hard for teams to win. We made it really hard for them to win today, and that's something that we got to give us credit. And then tomorrow, we'll go right back at it. We'll go to Buffalo, I think it is, and then try to close our win out there.
All right, there goes Linus Ullmark following the game today. Always very honest and blunt in his assessment. I find it funny that they ask him, hey, what'd you see on that disallowed goal? It was pretty far away from him, so would make sense that he didn't see it. The boys are almost at the pub. So we'll wrap up today's show with a thought from Martian and Pilsy after a 4-1 loss. But in the meantime, I want to ask which game, assuming it's one, tell me if you want same guy for both. Pilsy would snap if he heard me say that. I'm actually wanting to split these two games, but what should Levi Merilainen's first game be this season? Do you go to him on the road in Buffalo, or with Adam pointing out how important this game has become now that you've dropped 2 in a row, do you go with Ullmark on the road and then give Levi-Marilyn in the home game against Seattle? That's where I would go. I also love a good revenge game. Linus Ullmark started his career with the Buffalo Sabres. We know it's going to be an emotional game for Dylan Cousins. He did return to Buffalo already, got the video tribute out of the way at the end of last season after the trade, but it's going to be, of course, still new and fresh experience being in the visiting locker room in that rink. So I'm going with Linus Ullmark for Buffalo, and then going, no matter what happens in that game, going with Levi-Marilyn against Seattle on the Thursday. So it'll be a battle of what in a different universe is the Senators goalie tandem, with Joey Decord likely getting that game for Seattle, and then Ottawa going with their new young stud in Levi-Marilyn. And I'm curious to see how Levy plays, because obviously preseason was not good, but that lineup for the St. Louis game where he got lit up for 7 wasn't good either. So I'm pretty curious to see how I don't think anyone should be expecting the 3 shutouts, *4, the overtime winner, right? Ovechkin making 1-0 in OT. But he was ridiculous. 8-3-1 last season, .925 save percentage. You can't be expecting him to continue that run, but he needs to be better than Anton Forsberg was last year. And Forsy was either the best goalie in the league or the worst goalie in the league. Depends what night you tapped him on the shoulder to go in. So Levy, I think it's a lot to ask. Consistency when you don't play much overall, but that's the role of the backup. That's the one he's got this year. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Levy does in his first appearance from the show. Oh boy, we're not expecting a 1-2 start to the season. I wasn't, at least. I was thinking, hey, split Florida, home opener, it's an easy win. Just tap it in. Just give it a little tap. Wasn't the case today. I did give one Sen Central standout. I'll point out a player that I thought played well. And again, this is the perfect example of why plus minus is a bonehead stat. When you're getting 2 empty net goals scored against you, nobody's looking good in that category. I'm looking at Dylan Cousins -3 in this game. I actually thought he played pretty decent. Went 10 for 14 in the faceoff dot, had that assist. It was a nice shot off the skates of Ridley Gregg. So I'm pleasantly surprised with Dylan Cousins. 7 hits led all Senators in this game. Brady had 6 hits before leaving the game. Brady just 2 shots on goal though tonight. Claude Giroux only played 10 minutes and 20 seconds at even strength, despite kind of moving up and playing with Timmy for parts of the game today. So I'm looking top to bottom here, and like, where's the offensive punch outside of Timmy, who was flying tonight? And Timmy, by the way, Timmy's up over 65% in the faceoff dot so far this season. So that's something to keep an eye on. He finished last year really strong in the circle, and I think the more that he shows consistency, the less they'll have to rely on putting Giroux on his side. I know Brady's the other left shot and he can take draws himself, but I think watching Timmy develop his face-off ability has really been a bright spot for his game in the early part of the season. He won 11 out of his 14 face-offs tonight. Tim Stützle led all Senators forwards in ice time, playing 22 and a half minutes in this game. So I'll go with Tim Stützle as a Sen Central standout. Really impressed with him top to bottom, except for, of course, finishing his chances. Tim Stützle is still sitting on 0 goals so far this season, despite putting more shots on net than I can imagine him doing in the past. He's got 11 shots on goal so far this season through 3 games. Let's see, how many games did it take Timmy to get to 11 shots on goal last year? Because it was a while. Yeah, it was. Took him 7 games last year to get to 11 shots on goal, and he's already hit that. I'm seeing the chat saying that they're worried about the Ottawa Senators. I think worried's a bit of a strong word. I think that we've got to look at this as, I was going to say, still figuring it out. That's tough when you have 3 weeks of training camp to do it, but they just could not get enough pressure to get the puck in the goal. And yeah, UC Saros was great. And if you're doing a 3 stars for tonight's game, UC Saros is easily the number 1 star. But the Ottawa Senators have to make their own breaks. They've got to find a way to get a lead would be nice. I don't know if you guys saw the stat. The Senators have led for 1 minute and 9 seconds, is it, through 3 games? Like it's almost a blessing that they're even a 1-2. This could be an 0-3 start, and you'd be looking at these same themes, and you wouldn't be that surprised. But at least they were able to sneak out the opener against Tampa. Otherwise, we would probably be smashing the panic button. Good thing Pilsy left his panic button back in Collingwood, because it would be very tempting right now. But it is early, and we do have to remember that it is a long season. Let me ask him right now. So we head to the Glebe Center. You didn't bring the panic button, did you?
No panic button. It's literally from that. We're here at the Glebe Central Pub. We're going to drown our miseries, drown our sorrows. No better place to do it than at the GCP. That is hilarious. I was complaining about the internet, and then our internet cut out. Can't wait for that downtown arena. But yeah, that overturned goal, honestly, that was just... What I was getting at is that was a complete buzzkill in the arena, and I don't think I've ever seen Sens fans that pissed off. Marcy? We were livid.
We were giving it to them for sure out there. It was tough. It was tough to see out there.
Yeah.
That's brutal. So everyone's heard enough from me. How's your experience today?
Yeah, I can't believe you've been holding it down for 47 minutes. We tried to get as early as we could, so I was doing what I can for you.
Chat wanted to roll. We got to roll.
Nothing wrong with that. We appreciate that. The vibe getting to the rink was awesome. Like the weather was great. The area outside the arena was packed. Everybody was getting beers in. Music was good, and getting into the rink, it felt awesome to be back home at the CTC. That was a good start.
Yeah. Well, let's get right into what about the disallowed goal? Like, what the heck happened there with that goaltender interference? That was a BS call in my opinion. I think, Ross. Like,
there we go.
Yeah, on TV, like
he barely touched him, right?
Yeah, I think the big problem is that, and I can read off if you care, the explanation from the NHL control room, and a part of it makes sense. There was a bit of contact, but the fact that they say, quote, it impaired his ability to play his position prior to the goal. I just completely disagree with that.
I thought he had time to reset after that, and then he kind of stumbled over himself. And I don't know, I haven't watched the replay a million times. They weren't showing the replay because they were afraid people were going to rip seats out and go nuts at that point. But yeah, that was tough. And then I think the second momentum killer was when Jensen missed his hit on the sidewall and they got that second goal. Like at that point, Jensen, we know he's on a iffy hip. Like, just try to cut the angle down there. Don't go for that hit. He's like, we're not expecting him to make that kind of play there. So that was a real killer as well.
I don't even think the hip is iffy. I think the hip is done.
I think the
hip might be cooked. If he can't make that turn and actually make that play there, he didn't even challenge that guy. That guy just scooted by him like nothing. So, I mean, what are we going to do here with Jensen?
How much hope was left in the building at 2:03 left when Ridley Gregg makes it a 1-goal game?
I would say a good amount. You know, once Ridley Gregg kind of got us on the board there, I think the fans, the ones who were still there, because there was a good amount of people leaving at that point, unfortunately. But yeah. I think that people were still kind of like holding out hope, because the Sens, we've seen it many times before. They can be pesky. It doesn't matter what era of this team it is. They have a tendency to kind of take you out of it and then bring you right back in at the very last minute. So we were all holding out hope. I think me and Pilsy were holding hands at that point in the game.
We were.
We missed you there, Rossi boy. I know. It's tough not having you, man.
I felt
you
responsible.
haven't seen a loss at the home opener. We needed you.
I know. I felt like it was a sick shame ritual, me having to do the show alone after already missing out on so much throughout the game. 2 more things for you boys. We're going to wrap it with the jerseys, but before that, I gave 2 Sens Central standouts. I gave Linus Ullmark and I gave Tim Stützle, who I thought was buzzing all day. What else you got for me? Anyone else stand out from inside the rink?
I'll go first. Maybe a little of an unsung hero. I thought Tyler Clevin had a nice game in his return. Like that hit that he made early on in the game, that got the building buzzing. I thought he looked confident with the puck, and he's with a new partner too in Spence. They haven't played a lot together, so I know he didn't have a major impact on the game, but we wanted to see a change up on that bottom pair, and I thought Tyler Clevin played his role well.
A couple of giveaways early in the game, but yeah, he settled in. He settled in afterwards, and that hit was sick. I can only imagine the pop in the building. Martian, who you got?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one because I don't think he had a great game necessarily, but Brady Tkachuk for me, with him coming in at the start of the game, the fans chanting his name when he got introduced, he goes in on his first shift and gets absolutely thrown into the boards, but I think it was Roman Josi, tripped and thrown into the boards, jams his wrist. You can clearly see he's not perfect there. But knowing the circumstance of the game and where we were at, he gutted it out. And so for me, I'm just going to give credit where it's due there for Brady, just hanging into the game. I think he ended up leaving towards the end once it was kind of all said and done and not playing anymore after that. But just showing that, like, he's here for this team and this fan base and everything like that. I think Brady deserves a little bit of love because there's really, for me, not a whole lot of other guys that I can really point to who said, oh my God, what a game from this guy or that guy. But because, there was nothing really to cheer for out there tonight.
No, Sens lose 4-1 to Nashville. Ottawa outshoots the Predators 31-26. The Preds go 0-for-6 on the power play. The Sens go 1-for-5. Senators win 71% of the faceoffs in this one. Both teams with 14 blocks. Senators with 29 hits to 20 for Nashville, and the Sens with a 55-45 advantage in the 5-on-5 expected goals. Boys, I'm making you full screen for this one. What's the verdict on the in-person alternate jerseys?
They're sharp. You can get a sense here, but they're great. They feel nice. The gold isn't as heavy as the old gold on the Senegals. It's not as scratchy and dusty almost. They're sharp all the way around. This part, that nice textured red part there, they're solid. I can't wait to see what they're like on the ice.
Yeah, let's see the back again. I see you got the Claude Giroux one going. Very sharp. Very sharp.
Martian's rocking your Timmy for you.
Oh, very nice.
A little big, Ross. It's a little big for me.
Yeah, for you. That means it's going to fit me just nice.
Shoes to fill.
Yeah, big shoes to fill. Well, boys, enjoy the Glebe Central Pub. Final thoughts on today's show.
Last thing I want to say, though, is it's nice to see the penalty kill go 6 for 6. If we're going to try to find positives here. Nashville, a team that struggles on the power play so far, but they got some good players there. Stamkos, Marchessault. It's nice to see at least the penalty kill was much more aggressive than they had been in the past. So trying to find positives here, that's one.
Yeah, there you go. A little sliver of hope for Wednesday in Buffalo. Boys, enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks for doing this. We appreciate you. Glad you got to get back into the home of all homes. And enjoy the rest of the day, boys.
Hey, I want the chat to take it easy on me, okay? I'm not short. Pillsy's just really tall.
Chat is definitely letting you know.
Are they ripping me? Hey,
well,
don't rip me
are.
For my height.
They are now that you're swimming in my jersey.
Well, that's actually fits me pretty good. Hey, Pillsy, can I get a 360? Can I get a 360?
Give us a spin.
Oh, I'm gonna look so good in that. Oh yeah. Yeah, Timmy was the play in that one. Timmy was the play. All right, Pillsy, we'll chat with you tomorrow on the show.
See you, buddy.
There goes Brandon Piller and Lalim's Martian. That's it for us here on the postcast. Thank you so much for watching after the game. You can find us after every Ottawa Senators game here on the Locked On Senators YouTube channel, and we will have daily episodes around noon every day of the week. So we'll get hopefully an update on Brady Tkachuk by the episode tomorrow, and then we'll tee up a back-to-back and 3 games in 4 nights. The Senators playing Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday this week. The two latter ones there. Jeez Louise. Against Seattle and the New York Islanders. But for today, the Ottawa Senators lose 4-1. 2 empty net goals are the punctuation mark on a home opener defeat. Thank you so much for enjoying the show. Leave a comment below if you enjoyed the show, and you can leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Ross Levitan. Shout out to Martian and Pills. You can find them on social media. They're going to have a day at the Glebe Central Pub. The postcast always brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.